Bids are in, the gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. And this, of course, is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine auction, and finding tremendous wine deals. My name is Jeff Gurn. I'm on the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is Paul Walker. Welcome, Paul. And this, of course, is our episode on French wine coming into auction this week. We're going to talk about what we're seeing coming into auction, what's in market, what looks interesting, what does not. And so I'm going to start it off with a bottle that, look, this is one that I think is probably obvious that we would talk about. Let's go to Bordeaux, 1982 Chateau Latour.
Oh, well, I thought you were going to bring up the wine from Texas that we have in this week, but okay, that's fine. We'll
start with, this is the French week. So, okay. So, and the French episode. So we've got a few 82 first growths coming into auction. We've got some Latour, some Lafite. I was actually curious between the two, if you were to select between the Latour and the Lafite, which
Latour
one?
All the way.
Why is that?
Because it's better. That's all I have to say. It's funny. A2 Lafite is phenomenally good wine. I think it took a long time to come around, and it was always just superstar, kind of a market trend leader, right? Like it exploded, I think back in 2010 or 11, it went way up to $5,000 or $6,000 or something. It was just totally out of the charts. But now I think it's come back to earth. It's like 1560 or something.
So the Lafite, the 82 Lafite is coming in at 1665. Right. Yeah. The 82 Latour is at 1490. Now there's an 82 Mouton Rothschild at 1095. That one has triple 100 point scores, up the yin yang. And then there's an 82 Margaux at 740. So yeah, I don't know.
82 Margaux is not the wine from that vintage. There's an 83 in this week. I don't know if you saw that, but there's an 83 Margaux in. What
if I added Latour, Lafite, and Mouton Rothschild into the mix? Would you still go with the Latour?
Latour, yeah.
All the way?
All the way.
Okay.
And it's personal preference. I flagged the 90 and the 2000 Latour because those are also in this week. I think the 90 at 710 is a better bet than the 82s. I think it's drinking super well, and it's quite a bit less. It's just that wine that's as good as it gets. So, and then 2000 if you want to sit on one for a while.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's go down in price point just a little bit. 2010 Lynch Bage. This one, 5 trackers, 175. Look, this is a solid bottle from a great producer. It's under $200. I remember back to the days where you could get Lynch Bage, like $70, $80, right? And it's certainly climbed a lot since then. But 175, it doesn't strike me as being crazy. We also,
there's 96 in there too.
I was just going to say that there's some
165, which was for years and years, it never cost more than $100, and then it jawed up a few years back. Yeah, I don't think that's too much for the 2000. I haven't tasted the 2010 or recently, so I don't know.
Just to give you an idea, the 90, I have had the 96 Lynch Bage, which was fantastic.
I've had it a bunch of times.
But here's the funny thing. I bought it like 6 years ago or 7 years ago.
Oh, really?
Retail for $200. So like, I'm seeing it at 165. I'm like, damn it, McGurn. Why didn't you wait 7 years to buy this wine?
You wouldn't have thought that it would, depreciate as far as retail back then. Well, who knows? That's a tricky one.
Speaking
of 16, also, there's 4 bottles of the 16 in. Did you see that for 135?
I did for 135. Well, speaking of 110s, 2010s, you've got the 010 Pontic Canet. This one's got 28 people tracking. We got 5. This one is at 225, but it does have the double, 100 point scores. We have a bunch of these coming into auction. The other really cool thing is we've got a 6-liter of Pontic Canet coming into auction as well, which again, my birthday's coming up. So I just feel like it's something you should keep a close eye on unless you bought me
of 2010 also.
I believe this, I can't remember the 6 liters of 2010, but again, we do have a lot of Pontic Canet, a bunch of Pontic Canet coming to auction. Did you find out what year the 6 liters from?
I was just, looks like, it is 2010.
There you go.
Okay.
And that one, I'll bet you could age a long time as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's going to need quite a bit of time.
Think of how impressive, you'll be to all of your friends with a 6 liter of Pontic Canet, And actually, $1,630 isn't crazy, I think, for something like that. How often are you going to see 6 liters of something that's that epic, right? That's pretty epic vintage of Ponte Canet.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
2016 Chateau La Maison Aubryon. This one, 330. I think this is a killer bottle, and 330 seems like a solid price for LMHB. It doesn't seem out of line to me, right? Maybe right where it should be. And 2016 was a great year, good year in Bordeaux.
No, I saw that too. There was a bottle of Aubryon also. I can't remember what vintage it was, but
another one that I thought was interesting, O1 Pavi. For 230.
There's your Pavi. You're bringing up your Pavi again.
I'm bringing up my Pavi again. $230. That's well below what you're going to get at retail, I feel like, for Pavi, and it's got 22 years of age. And then one that actually already has a bid on, otherwise I was considering bidding on it, 2000 La Casillante.
I saw that, yeah.
$205, right? $200. 23 years of age, already seeing action on it. And we've got an O1 for $195. $200, that's about what you're going to pay for La Casillante, even on Premier, right?
Yeah, no, that's great wine. I think that I saw that too, and that should be fantastic. You'll be drinking great now. And it will for a while.
Of course, any sommelier to help sell this to you will tell you that it's, Petrus's neighbor and all that fun stuff.
I found some Bordeaux too, if you wouldn't mind.
Please.
We're sort of in that kind of like inexpensive to just above, like under 200 basically. And Belfond Belsier 2000, that was a deal at 30. There's 3 of those at 30. There's Brain Cantenac 15, 2015 Brain Cantenac at 65, 8 of those. There's some Chateau Canon. There's 2005, 2010. And let's see, the 2005 is 125 and the 10 is 105. A couple bottles of that. 19 Chateau d'Isson from Margaux. One of those at 65. I think it got a whole bunch of scores. I didn't think that was too expensive. I mean, d'Isson's never been, super, super sought after, but it's great wine, and 65 for
it's a solid wine to drink at a reasonable price. I like it.
Yeah, complex, and and it's going to give a lot of. I think it'll give a lot for the money. And then 05 Giscourt, I saw there's 6 bottles of that in for 100. There's some 09 and 10 and 16 Gloria, 2 bottles each. Yeah, 65 and 65 for the 09, 60 for the 10, and 55 for the 16. I mean, that wine's always been kind of under.
You're going to pay. I just bought some Gloria at Costco of all places. So, some New Orleans Gloria for like $55, $60.
Yeah. It's kind of just hung out there at that price. It hasn't really ever jumped up.
I mean, we should probably stop talking about it lest people start like actually going after it. I also saw some 16 Canon La Gaufrier, that for $60. And I thought that was a reasonable price for that, for that as well. Solid bottle for a great price.
Yeah. Another couple of deals sort of under 100. There's some 15 La Pointe at 40. All right, just one bottle actually. 96 La Femme Rocher, 7 of those for 65. I didn't think that was too bad. That wine's never really shot up in price, and now it's almost 30 years old. 16 Lagrange, there's 6 of those for 60. I thought that was pretty reasonable also. So yeah, there's still some relatively inexpensive and great wines up there. I also found an 89 Montrose popped up this week, 445, which seems like a lot. 90 and 89 are always very expensive.
I saw that 89 Montrose for 445. Yeah. I actually had that noted as well. Well, let's travel over to Burgundy. We've got a 09 Domaine Romani Conti Echezot. This one is interesting.
Yeah.
Because this one's up for $28.50, but this wine last sold for $28.50 in June 2022. But before that, in 2019, the last time we saw it before last June was 2019. For $1,385. So it doubled in price in 3 years, more than doubled in price. The question is, do you think it's going to hold here at $28.50? Or are we going to see this one soften a bit and come down?
I don't think so. I mean, looking at some of those other examples we talked about in the last episode, I don't think you're going to see anything come down. Now, there's a fair amount of it in the auction right now that's rolled over. That's the only, I think, new lot of Romani Conti in this week,
right?
If I'm not mistaken. So, we'll see. What vintage is it again? I was just
09.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really strong vintage. So it probably will not hang out for too long compared to some of the younger stuff that's up. that's up currently. So I think, maybe within a couple $100, but not more than that is my guess.
We've got a 2017 Domaine du Jacques Carmez Chambertin. And this one, 10 trackers, already has 3 bids and has gone from 340 to 400. And actually, there are 2 of them. So we're seeing a lot of action on this in the first 24 hours. And then we also have got a Domaine du Jacques Claude de la Roche for 650 as well. I was just curious your thoughts on this. I mean, 340, we're already seeing a ton of action. Where do you think this one's going to end up?
Yeah, so the Charms you mentioned was, what vintage was that?
2017.
Oh, 17. Okay. Yeah, because there's 14 and 2 that's higher, which is interesting because the 17, I think, is a stronger vintage. So I think people kind of went after it because it seemed reasonable in comparison. So yeah, I don't know. That might get up to five something before the end of the week, since there's, already multiple bids on Monday. That usually indicates there's going to be some more activity on it. Probably somewhere 5, 5.5, because it's considered, superior to the 14. The 14's not moving yet. So, and then what was the other Dujac wine?
There was a
Claude Claude LaRoche. And let's see.
650.
And sorry, what vintage was the Claude LaRoche you mentioned? Was it 17 also?
It might have been. I don't even remember what the vintage was. I was just
because there's a couple bottles of 17 in at 650 right now. I don't know. That's probably where it's going to sell. So there's a mag in 13 for 1045. So
yeah,
that's pretty
cool. That one I thought was cool. Harkening back to last week's auction, 2012 Henri Gouge.
There's more Gouge in this one.
Gouge, Nuit Saint-Georges, Les Vaucrans. I know I'm mispronouncing that. 2012, right? So $120. I thought this one for $120 seemed like a decent price for a Gouge on it's a Premier.
Yeah, I don't think that'll probably go for too much more. It's probably right where it's sold more, most recently. So it looks like that example we mentioned, the 18, is just quite a bit more rare at this point. Maybe in the US, there's just not a lot of it. But yeah, no, that's not a bad deal.
What about this 2011 Domaine Berthaud?
Yeah, well, there's already some Berthaud in that. We mentioned multiple bottles, I think, of Emeros last week, and I think it might still be out there. But yeah, I saw that. It's an 11 though, right?
It's an 11. It's already got a bid, so it's already gone from 190 to 200. But it still seems like a really good deal for a Grand Cru under 200. I mean, it's even at $200, it still seems like a pretty good deal. I saw this Hubert Linière Carmel Chambertin, this mag for $500.
The Charm mag at 500. That stuck out to me too. When that Gouge is going for how much was it? Like 100. What was that 18? I don't even remember now. Was it close to $200 or something for the 18 that sold last week? And then I looked at this and I was like, damn, Charm Hubert Linière Charm mag for 500. That does not seem expensive. The other crazy bottle that stuck out to me this week was the 16 Rouge von Romani Croparntu for 2,200, which is, that's a lot, but rare stuff. And I believe Rouge and Méo-Camazé are the only 2 producers now that make wine from that vineyard. So that stood out to me. Also, there's a mag of Trappé Chambertin at 970. And I found some deals in Burgundy this week too. There's a couple bottles of Bourgogne Rouge. There's Oudla Noyat 18 for 35. There's 2010 Joseph Roti Bourgogne for 30. Well, it's got a bid at 31, a couple bottles. And also the Appellation Gevrey at 46 now. It's got a bid for the 2010. And then Lignée Michelot Chameau Musigny Old Vines at 16 at 51, I thought was a deal. And then there's a bunch of really cool Chablis in this week.
Yeah, I saw all the Chablis.
Very, I would say hip producers, if you will. There's Alice and Olivier Demour, Bel Air at Clardy, one of those at 35, which I thought was cheap for the 2020. There's a couple Gilbert Pic wines. There's a 17 Dessus le Carrière, 2 of those at 36. They've got bids. And then 18 Gilbert Pic Chablis Vaucopin at 1 at 35, which seemed very reasonable. And then some Laurent Tribut, which is quite sought after. It looks like all of them have bids. There's 15 and 16 Beaurois at 46 each, and then 17 Beaurois at 52, and 16 and 17 Côte de Leche at 46, both of them. So definitely some interest in those immediately this week. So I would expect to see those get bid up a little bit.
To wrap up Burgundy, I'll just mention too, if you're interested in a bottle with a very colored history, there's some Maison Ilion 2010.
I saw those.
45 bucks. I had to mention it. And then I'm shocked that you didn't mention, you may be going after it. There is a 2015 Rayanne and Pascal Boulay-Volnay. And I figured you would be going after anything with Rayanne in the name.
I did not see that. 15?
Yeah. Anyway, let's travel around France. Okay. Let's talk a bunch of different stuff. Let's go to the Rhone. 2017, Boucassel, Châteauneuf de Pape Blanc, Villers-Vignier. This one is one of those ones, 120 bucks, right? Where you're seeing the Blanc that's going for more than the Rouge.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always funny. It's funny because I think, that wine always gets big scores, which I think is kind of funny because Châteauneuf Blanc is not necessarily one of those wines that, that people collect with any regularity, at least in my experience. I don't know too many people who go totally bonkers for Châteauneuf Blanc, but I mean, it's fun to drink if you're in the mood. It's not a lightweight wine. We were just talking about these super lean Chablis wines. It's the polar opposite of that. Is super dense, super rich, but, definitely can be pleasing, I guess, if you're into that style. But yeah, you're right. The Boucassel Vieilles Vignes is the sought after wine if you're talking about Châteauneuf Blanc in general. Yeah, and more expensive than the standard, Châteauneuf Rouge. But yeah, I saw that along with a few others.
Coming into auction this week, we have a tremendous amount of Rhone wine, like some really cool stuff from the Rhone. I saw
mostly Northern Rhone too.
No, mostly Northern Rhone. And speaking of Northern Rhone, this Pierre Ganon, Saint-Joseph, this one, 2010, just a paltry $1,240.
That's the Old Vines, I think, right? It must be. Because, Ganon has been very, very, it's had this meteoric rise to popularity, and I'm not sure who's to blame for that, but, sommeliers and collectors alike over social media over the last 10 years, I guess, it's kind of blown it up. It's funny because there's a 15 Saint-Joseph Blanc. There's 3 of those at 105, which I think is kind of high. I don't know, if that's something people are as interested in as, let's say, the Saint-Joseph Rouge, but the Old Vines 10 for $1,240 reserve, that's a lot. We'll see if it goes for that. But yeah, there's a ton of Cornas, a ton of Saint-Péray, there's Gros Hermitage, there's all kinds of really cool small production. I want to say minimal intervention on some of these producers.
Ton of Côte Rôtie.
Yeah, a bunch of Côte Rôtie. There's Gilles Barge, Côte Rôtie, all kinds of different designations. The Côte Blonde, Côte Brune. There's
Jasmine
wines, Jasmine, Côte Rôtie, like Guillaume Fleury. 10 of those, all with bids at 56 right now for the 2015. Olea, there's 3 at 80. That I've never seen that Olea label before from Jasmin. And then there's the straight 09 Côte Rôtie with a bid at 71. There's more Jean-Louis Chauve wines. There's obviously some more Hermitage. We see that fairly regularly. There's always at least some of it at auction. But there's the Gros Hermitage Silène, 2010 at 55. And I feel like it's kind of interesting because you can experience the Jean-Louis Chauve wines for, let's say, a lot more reasonable prices than the Hermitage or the Hermitage Blanc for that matter. There's the Saint-Joseph Ophrous, 2 of those at 40, which is not anything, amazing, but for a little bit more, there's the Sélection Hermitage Farconnet, 1 of those at 75 for the 13, and like I mentioned, the Gros Hermitage Silène, 2010 at 55. So, some interesting wines that you can try there from Jean-Louis Chauve for not breaking the bank.
Did you see the 1995 Gilles Barge? Gilles Barge Côte Rôtie. This one already has 5 bids, right? Gone from
which one? There's a whole bunch of Gilles Barge. What
the 95, 1995, forum available. Came in for 105, already up to 28-year Côte Rôtie starting at 105.
I was surprised. I mean, well, not too, because all the rest of the stuff actually is all under $100, but it all has bids. The 11 Cote Brune bids at 76. There's one at 75, actually. Looks like it doesn't have a bid, but I'm sure it will. And then the Cote Brune 15 at 71. All four of those have bids. So, yeah, a lot of activity on those wines. A lot of activity in general, I think. The Guillaume G wines also looks like, oh no, it looks like still those are still out there at reserves. Cornas 15 is 70. And then the 15 Nouvelle R Les Rieux 45 for the 15, 45 for the 16. Pérouse for 35 for the Guillaume G 15 Pérouse and 16 35. So yeah, there's still some stuff out there without bids that's not expensive.
I also thought it was really cool. I feel like we got a bunch of stuff coming in from the Loire. There's, like this Domaine des Roches, Nouveau Semur Champagny Le Memory. This one, $50, for a great bottle of Cabernet Franc. And there's a bunch of Domaine des Roches coming into auction this week. I thought that seemed pretty reasonable. And then there's this 1990 Pouilly Dutil Chenin.
1990 Chenin, huh?
1990 Chenin, I think could be really cool because some of these wines can really stand the test of time. 33 years of age on it, $60, right? Yeah. And we have a few of these coming in a few Chenin coming in from the 90s. So I thought that stuff was like super interesting.
Yeah, no, that's true. I wonder how those wines are aging. I have zero experience with a lot of these producers. I did see, in addition, from the Loire, now you mentioned it, there's a few wines from Domaine de l'Écu. There's the Ange Pinot Noir, 15 at 35, 16 at 35. There's also Domaine de l'Écu Invictus, 2 at the 14 at 50, and 4 of the 15 at 55. Then there's 14 Domaine de l'Écu Mephisto, 2 of those at 30. So interesting red wines from a very well-known Muscadet producer. And then, you're right. I also saw this 14 Domaine de Collier Saumur Blanc La Charpentrie for 77. So that's getting bid up. So that must be,
It's a lot of good deals on Cab. A lot of good deals on Loire wine. There's also like 2019 François Cotat Sancerre Chavignon Rosé.
There's Rosé from Cotat. That's cool.
Yeah, I thought that one was really interesting. And then there was
because there's 17 Pascal Cotat Montdamné also, which is, I love that stuff, and that's got bids at 57.
45 to see some Sancerre Rosé. It already has bids on it, which I'm not surprised. And then there's this O2 Domaine UE Vouvray La Haute-Lieu, Le Haut-Lieu Demi-Sec Non-Greffé. This one already has 3 bids on it, went from 40 to 43. This is one of my favorite. I love this producer and I love this wine. And I'm guessing a Demi-Sec probably is phenomenal right now with 21 years of age.
Oh yeah, that's just a baby still. So
yeah, right. You're right. That could probably go significantly longer. I'd of course be remiss if I didn't travel a little bit outside of Loire and go to Domaine Tempier, Bandol Rosé.
I knew you were going to talk about the Tempier.
I have to talk about the John Malkovich wine.
I think it's funny because it's good wine. It's good wine. It's just funny that they're kind of, I don't know if they're getting bids or not, but yeah, there's a bunch of that Tempier showed up this week. So
I have to bring up some of there's a lot of interesting stuff I feel like from the Jura as well.
Well, before you go there, hold on, because there's 3 examples from Provence that I wanted to bring up before you go back up the country. There's Domaine de Travaillon. There's the 11. There's 2 of those at 100, and then there's the 04. There's 2 of those at 2 04s at 130, and then one of the 06 Travaillon at 130 also. They come and go pretty quickly. They never hang around for too long. It's really, 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 really good stuff. If you've never had it before, I'd highly recommend it. But anyway, kind of fun to see. And they all kind of eclipsed $100 over the last couple of years. They used to be under 100, but no longer. The secret's out on those. So, okay, up to Jura. Yeah, there's a bunch of Jura. There's a bunch of cool stuff from there.
Did you see? So we had a bunch of bottles of these Jean Bordy Côte de Jura Rouge. So
Yeah.
the one I picked out was an '05, already seeing action. There's a few of these coming into auction, including one from 1967.
I saw that. Yeah, like so bizarre that thing it's like stuck out like all these younger vintages, and then there's a 67. I wonder if it's from the same seller.
It's gotta be from the same seller. It seems too crazy not to be. And then the other one that I thought was really interesting is this 2014 Jacques Puffini Arbois Poussard M.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really cool bottle. It's already got 4 bids on it. It's gone from 45 to 92. Are you familiar with this producer, with this bottle?
Yeah, I actually have had some of the wines from Puffini. I like the whites better personally, but I'm not super experienced in Jura in general. Some of the wines are funny. Poussard, and Trousseau can be challenging, I think, if you're not necessarily ready for what to expect. But these are sought after wines. Yeah, the 014 Poussard M, like you say, it started at 45 and they're up to 91, $92. So yeah,
they're moving.
It's a rare one.
They're moving fast, right? And what I think is really cool is that this is 100% Poussard, which is not something that you see a lot. You don't expect to get a ton of action on it. And then I think the other thing I thought was cool is that the winemaker started off as a cheesemaker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I guess parlayed that into buying, getting into the wine business or buying vineyards or something like that. But that's what he's well known for. And then if we travel outside of Jura.
Oh, hold on just a second.
Oh, you got some more Jura wines.
No. I was looking at the 67, and it does come from the same seller as the other Jean Bordy wines. I think there's 2 other lots, 05 and 09, which are quite reasonable, 35 and $30. But yeah, the 67 is from the same seller. I'm almost wondering if looking at the label, which everyone can see on the site, is, probably a recent re-release from the winery, just because the label is in really, really good shape, and the neck vintage or the vintage tag on the neck looks really nice as well, and the capsule looks relatively young. So and the import label on the back too kind of looks like something that was printed not too long ago. So I would imagine this might be a re-release or a library release or something from the winery. So because I don't think there are too many other older wines in this particular collection.
Still very cool. Let's wrap up by traveling over to Champagne.
Oh yeah, lots of great champagne in this.
Lots of great champagne. 96 Salon Les Mesnil.
96 Salon. Yeah, it's this wine. I saw that too. This, like, holy moly, it's expensive. It's craziness, but that's what happens. That's what happened to Salon anyway.
But even at 1,200, that didn't seem crazy in the grand scheme of things. And then in 2011, Marguerite Grand Cru Ambonnet. This one already has 2 bids on it, from 55 to 57. Already seeing a bunch of action. An 08 JL Vernon Brut Nature Grand Cru Les Mesnil Confidence. This one already has a bid on it, 65. Great vintage Grand Cru. Yeah. Solid price at $65, I feel like.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think with, a number of these, and I feel kind of very uneducated on some of these producers, but no doubt they're, limited production wines. And I think quite a few of them are also coming from a couple of different sellers this week of other limited production wines that we've been talking about from Rhone and Loire and elsewhere. So those stuck out to me. I flagged a bunch. If you don't mind, I can fly through them so we don't go over time here. But there's some Agripar in this week, which I always love. It's very expensive. It kind of struck me, actually. I was like, wow, that's a lot. 07 Brut Nature Grand Cru Experience Blanc de Blanc, 195, and 12s at 190, the same designation. Arlo 2002 Brut Rare at 96, so it's got a bid. That's a rare one for sure. There's some 14 Cédric Bouchard, Rosé de Sagné Cru d'Enfer at 690, which is another eye-watering price, but it's Cédric Bouchard. It's gone nuts. 2010 Christophe Mignon Brut Nature at 70. There's some Aiguille Ourier in this week as well. There's a multi-vintage Brut Grand Cru. I think it's got a recent disgorgement. I can't remember. That's got bids at 78. And then there's a 13 vintage Grand Cru at 600, a couple of those. So both price ranges for Aiguille Ourier. And then Etienne Calsac, Coteau Champenois, which is interesting to see. Stuff from Coteau Champenois, very well, not up and coming, but very hip, let's just say. They've been making wines there forever. 19 at 65 and 20 at 60. There's some other Coteau Champenois wines, which you don't see very often. And 16, Francois Boulard, Extra Brut, Les Mourgier at 46. It's got some bids. Gosset, 12 years at 110. Oh, there's some one bottle of Guillaume Salas Au-dessus du Gros Mont at 650. Don't see the Guillaume Salas wines that often. That really stuck out. Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff.
A lot of amazing stuff. Look, we could go on.
17 Jerome Prévost, one of my favorite wines. Biguine, 100% Pinot Meunier. That's at 235, which is a lot, but not a lot, I think, compared to some of these others that we've been discussing that have just gone through the roof. 2010 La Herche, that old vines, Pinot Meunier, Vigne d'Autrefois, two of those at 55. And you mentioned the Margay. I had that on my list. Marie Courtin, Coteau Champenois, Le Blanc de Tremble. I saw that. It's got bids at 62 for the 16. And then there's 15 Extra Brut Indulgence at 90. All kinds of crazy stuff. Philippinat, there's some Philippinat. There's Clos de Goisse 08 at 275. That's like one of my all-time favorite. There's Pierre Peters Chatillon 09 at 350. There's Piolo 08 at 41 and 42. So those have some bids. And Brut Nature from Piolo as well at 35. So all kinds of price ranges. Oh, there's multi-vintage Suena, the Cru Wari, Blanc de Blanc, three of those at 66. Looks like they all have it.
I'm cutting you off here because you will go on forever talking about champagne.
Wait, one more.
You do one more and that's it.
09 Villemar Grand Cellier. Actually, can we go right back to the Loire really quickly? I'll just be very fast. Or no, the Jura, which I'm surprised you didn't see this wine because there's a Riesling from the Jura in this week I'd never seen. It's got a crazy paint by numbers label on it. Where is it?
I did.
Oh yeah, Domaine de l'Octavin Riesling Loire at $40.
I did see that.
You gotta look at that because I'll bet you've never had Riesling from the Jura before.
I never have, and I might bid on it. All right, folks. And with that, I am wrapping us up because otherwise we'll go on forever and ever about French wine. Thank you for being with us. And as always, signing out for WineBid's Finally Hammered. I am Jeff Gurr, and this is Paul Walker. Everyone, happy bidding and cheers.